Hello, everyone. Welcome to Friday 420 Live. I am Michelle Navedo. Today, I'm so excited to be joined by my guests, Judy Nelson and Walter Wood of Soul Spirit Farm. Soul Spirit Farm is an organic, sustainable, and there's one more adjective I had there, regenerative farm in the heart of Humboldt. And I'm so excited to have you guys on the show. Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you.
you.
So we'll start right in. I've been following you guys for a while, and which is why I wanted to have you guys on the show. And I'm so excited about what you guys are doing, the sustainability aspect, the regenerative aspect, and the sun-grown aspect. And I was wondering if you could share with the viewers how Soul Spirit Farm came about initially.
You want to go, Jody? Judy, or do you want me to get it?
You go ahead. Oh, maybe his thing is frozen, so I will go ahead,
All right,
actually.
you go.
Okay. Okay. Well, so Walter and I are old, like deadhead hippies, and so we were, traveling around, following Grateful Dead tour, independently of one another. And then when Jerry Garcia died, unfortunately, I was in LA. I'm a physical therapist and I had this traveling physical therapist job. And I happened to be in LA when Jerry Garcia died and went to a memorial. And that's where Walter and I met. And after that, we, continued traveling, but ended up in Humboldt County. And we were doing a lot of forest activism at the time, and through various actions that we did, I ended up having to spend a little bit of time in jail for locking
Oh
myself
no.
to a logging gate to block logging of an old growth forest. And after that, we kind of decided that, like, we would actually rather sort of live the change that we want to see in the world and be in nature and be sustainable and kind of stop contributing to the degradation of the earth, rather than just like fighting against all of these, greedy interests that were decimating, nature. So we started looking for land of our own. And in that process, we found this current location where Soul Spirit Farm is. And Walter had been studying permaculture. And so he had a very detailed list of like all of the features that a property that would work for what we wanted to do we're going to have. And so we were lucky enough, over, I think we were looking for maybe a year and a half, 2 years, something like that. But we found this beautiful place where we are now, in 2001. And we've been here ever since.
And Walter, when we spoke last, that's an amazing story. The part about meeting at the memorial is, I mean, that's a strong bond created in a moment like that.
Yeah.
But and Walter, when we spoke, you had also said that you had, I believe you said you had an injury, and so that kind of led you to growing. Is that correct? Or
Yeah, that definitely that was a huge influence. I had injured my back a couple of years before, or not. Yeah, maybe only a year before I met Judy, and so when we were traveling, we ended up in Baton Rouge, Louisiana for a while, and there was no cannabis available. It was
I lived in New Orleans.
1996.
I could confirm that.
Yeah, this was in 96. This was in 96 in Baton Rouge, and it was a dry town. Like, it was really crazy. All the liquor's flowing, but no no medicine.
Right.
And so I'd already figured out that it really was the medicine for my back. The opiates didn't actually give me the relief. I was really lucky in that way. But so the cannabis did give me the relief. We got to Baton Rouge, there was none. And so I just sat down and read the grower's guide from cover to cover, went to the hardware store, bought a couple of HPS porch lights and some fluorescents, and started the adventure. Popped a couple of seeds we had in the bottom of a bag and it was magic. It was that experience of turning that nearly inanimate object, that seed, and then turning that into flower and turning it into a plant, living with that plant, hanging out with that plant for months, and then harvesting it and sharing it with people. Like that whole experience is magic. And I certainly know people that are addicted to that part of the experience. They don't
Yeah.
even have to smoke.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. So that
Um,
that definitely influenced it.
and so I'm a cannabis cultivator, have been for a couple of decades as well, and I'm really, and there has been interest as well from on social media about. I'm really interested in the Jadam Korean agriculture that you guys do, um, and so I was wondering if you could explain a little bit about what Jadam is for the people who don't know what it is, and how you implement it on your farm.
Yeah. No, it's fairly new to us. I think we're on our fourth year of Jadam only inputs, and it was one of those things where it just really clicked for me. It really made sense. So it comes from the son of the guy who made up Korean natural farming, if anybody's familiar with that. And I think he kind of said, "Hey, Dad, your stuff's too complicated. Can we simplify this and make it more usable?" And the Korean natural farming uses, a couple of ingredients like sugars and rices and things that aren't necessarily from our region. And so that was kind of a hurdle for me to try and incorporate the Korean natural farming, which I'd learned about first. And we tried incorporating for a little while, but it was really difficult, it seemed to me, and took a lot of time and energy investment.
What was so
So
difficult
when we
about it?
well, so to make the IMO, which is the indigenous microorganisms, which is kind of like a compost tea, and then we have a Jadam equivalent, which is Jadam microbial solution. To make that, you take this box of rice, and it's this fancy cedar box that you made, and it's just special for the purpose. You take it out in the woods, and you hopefully get it inoculated. We leave it out in a good spot for a week. Hopefully the mice don't eat it, and you get it inoculated, and then you bring it in, and you add sugar to it, and that kind of puts it into a cryo state almost. It takes all the moisture out, and the mushrooms and fungi all go into they go one generation down the line, and I'll freeze. And so then you can you make a bunch of those, and then you take a little bit, a spoonful of each of those batches, and you add it to a mix of some grain and some like nutshells and carbs and stuff, and you make your pile bigger. You're making a bigger compost pile, bred with these special microorganisms that are in that rice box. And so that makes an IMO3. You do that again with similar but bigger, make a 4, and then you make it into a 5, and then you make a big fancy compost tea machine that then bubbles it, and then you can spread that out on your crop. And so that could almost take a year or two if you really, it's a lot of work, not all time on, but there's a lot of time on hand, and especially when you're making those IMO piles, you're you have to make sure it doesn't overheat. It's not too cold, not too hot. And so it's really hands-on in all that process.
So like a
So
year to make a batch? Is that right?
all that's to make a batch of liquid IMO5, which is
Wow.
essentially indigenous microorganisms in a tea form that you can water your plants with, right? That's all we're trying to do is get some indigenous microorganisms to the plants. So in the Jadam natural farming, we take and simplify that greatly. We go out in the forest and we grab a little handful of soil or two with some, that we suspect to be really rich in microorganisms underneath an old oak tree. Usually you can see some mycelium underneath the layer of leaves and stuff, and it's a good indicator. And so we find that good spot, and then we grab a couple handfuls of that. We add that to a barrel of water. We add a little sea salt for trace minerals, And then we add some carbohydrates. We grow potatoes in the summer, and then we do sunchokes in the fall. But it's a what do you have? What's available? You could use oats, you could use rice. It's just some carbs. And so we cook that, blend it up, and we put those three ingredients in that barrel: the soil, the rice, or whatever, the starch, and the salt, and then let it sit for a couple of days. And when it gets all bubbly, it's ready. There's your liquid IMO5 that was all those other stages. And now compost tea, you got your barrel and you add your compost and you add your sugar and you brew it for a couple of days and you pray that you got it right and that you didn't have this stagnant spot and all that. This is just so much simpler. We don't worry about stagnant because the soil is aerobic anyways. And or sorry, anaerobic. The soil doesn't have air in it. My brain really has a hard time with that one. The soil does not have air in it, and so if we make a brew without air in it, it will be fine. It's
So
only
pretty
the top
easy.
inch or
In other
two
words,
that has
super
it.
easy, straight ahead.
Yeah, it's super easy.
You lost me after like a couple of minutes, man. But I'm gonna watch the video back and try to figure it out.
Well, and we did just recently post an entire how-to of how to make that JMS on our YouTube channel as well.
Okay.
So people can check that out because there's a full tutorial from start to finish, on how to make that.
And what's that channel?
Soul Spirit Farm. I think it's like Soul Spirit Farm 420, something like that on YouTube.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
But so that's one of the main inputs with the Jadam natural farming. And then another main input is that we make a liquid fertilizer. And it is even one step simpler. We just put water and the material we're wanting to turn into fertilizer. We use meadow grass in the spring. In the summer, we use a lot of pot leaves because pot leaves have everything that a pot leaf needs to make itself. So if we're trying to grow more pot leaves, you put pot leaves in this mix, it's going to be able to grow more pot leaves. It's just really cool like that, That's the simplicity of the Jadam. So we're going to break down this plant material in a barrel with water and then a handful of that good soil. And all the microbes are going to take care of it. Give it a couple of weeks or longer, and once you suck the liquid out, you just add more liquid and then more plant material and another handful of soil. You don't ever drain it out completely. It's got like a sourdough starter going on in it, right?
Yeah.
And so it's an active biodigester. And it will just keep digesting as long as you keep putting stuff in. And that, so now I'm not going and buying fertilizer. And so we make our own soap, and that's part of the Jadam stuff. We make a soap out of just organic olive oil and lye and water, and it's really simple. All the Jadam stuff too, he makes his own videos also, and they're all available. This is a technology for people, for farmers, for us to help save the planet. He's not trying to hold on to it and hide it. He's trying to share it and get it out there. And
well, I wanted to say, with that in mind, Walter, actually, Judy, I'm going to ask you a question real quick, because this has been on my mind. You guys do, I'm told you're the marketing person to talk to about your company, and I know that you guys are doing compostable and recyclable packaging. And I can imagine what a stretch that must be for you guys to do as a small business, and in the market in California. But so why the focus on sustainable packaging for you?
Well, I mean, that's kind of what we're all about. All of these things, is like we put all of this effort into growing regeneratively because it's the right thing to do. We also think it actually creates a higher quality product, right? Because you're not going to be getting like residual fertilizers, in your smoke. You're not going to be tasting any of that because, like, since what we're using to feed the plants all came from the land, like what you really are tasting, smelling, feeling is literally like the genetics of the plant. the kind of spirit of the land and the spirit of the farmer, right? And like that's what you get. There's nothing that is a outside input that we are like that's going to end up in that taste or in that, effect of your when you enjoy our cannabis, right? So like to do all of that work and then put it in a single-use plastic Mylar bag would just like basically be counter, productive in our mind.
Yeah.
It's like we're attempting to help people think about their purchase and not only how it affects like their own body and their own health, but like all of our collective health because we're dependent on the earth, right? For our own survival. And so, a plastic doob tube, a petroleum-based single-use plastic joint tube will persist in the environment for at least 400 years. And if you smoke that joint and, if it's some good regenerative sun-grown, you might be high for a couple hours. If it's indoor, maybe 30 minutes. And now this tube is going to outlive you and potentially all future generations on the planet. And that's messed up, right?
Yeah.
And so like we just could never contribute to that situation, with our own like ethics and morals. Like we would just not be selling into the market if we were forced to be putting it in single-use plastic packaging. And so, of course, it's more expensive, but it's not as more expensive as some people may lead you to believe, right? And for us, it's like, well, if I spend, maybe 20 cents more on an eighth than I would if I put it in a nasty Mylar bag.
Yeah.
Like number one, bags are not great for flour, right? It's going to get crushed. It's going to get squashed. The trichomes are all going to be falling off. And, so to put it in something that's like designed to protect the flower and keep it good and also then turn back into compost when it's done. So for us, we do have like a packaging take back program that we run with the dispensaries that sell our flower. And so people can, if they have a compost pile or they have a worm bin or they have some way that they can compost at home, you can just put it in your own compost pile. The pop tops of the eighths and the joint tubes last about 8 months in the worm bin,
That's true.
but the labels and we do little cellophane shrink bands on these things, and that stuff's gone within 60 days. And so if we take the packaging back, if people bring it back to the dispensary and then we go along and pick that stuff up, we bring it back to the farm and we compost it, and now it just becomes it becomes soil again, which we now can use to grow more crops. Right.
Yeah.
And so like really the whole thing is like, unfortunately, we've all sort of been taught in our culture that you can throw something away, but there is no away, right? It's
Not for
all a
plastic.
closed system.
Yeah.
Not for anything, it's like it's a closed system. That stuff will be around, if you smoke that joint out of a petroleum-based tube, you are like committing that space on the planet to house that packaging for 400 years, and we just don't want to contribute to that. So we're trying to give people another option. If you care about that, now you know that you can find something to enjoy that isn't going to contribute to that problem.
Do you guys know of any other farms that are doing initiatives like that, like recycle your container, taking it that distance?
I've seen a lot of like vape cartridge recycling, but not very much flour. Glass is a standard in cannabis, but a lot of people don't realize this, but we're actually running out of the right type of sand to make glass on the planet. Because only a certain kind of sand can you make glass, and it is becoming in short supply. And
I
so
had no
plus it's
idea.
heavier to transport, it adds to the carbon footprint
Yeah.
of that flower. And so there's obviously petroleum-based plastic is bad, but even glass is not perfect, and so you have to find this balance of like, we went to all this effort to grow this amazing flower, to cure it, to hand trim it. We don't want to sacrifice the quality for the packaging sustainability. So it's just really nice that we've found the thing that does both, right? It protects the flower, but we don't sacrifice this sustainability piece. And I don't know of any other flower brands that are taking back their packaging.
Yeah.
But I think honestly, I wish California should have written that into the rules.
Yeah, there should be a bin in
That
every
you are
dispensary.
responsible for, yeah, exactly.
All manufacturers, not even just cannabis. Let's just make this across the board. If a manufacturer is responsible for their waste, then they're going to have to change how they're doing it, and we can have a planet we can live on.
Well, thank you guys. Thank you guys for setting an example, really, in the industry. Um, I saw recently a post. Actually, it was at the beginning of the season. That reminds me, I wanted to thank you guys also for taking the time out. I know you guys were really busy in the middle of season, if not getting ready for harvest and stuff right now. So thank you so much for taking the time. But I saw a few months back when you were getting ready to plant, I think it was, you guys were doing did kind of a circle around the starts, around the new plants to kind of send them off into their journey. And I just think practices like that are so cool because and it kind of infuses your care and your wishing well and wishing love for these plants into the plants, right? And so I was wondering if you could tell us a little bit more about some of those practices.
Sure. I mean, well, we do always just one of our first forethoughts is when we're working on the plants and working on the farm is that we have to be in the right place in our head because that really, that is important. And yes, a circle before we plant the plants and let the plants know how much we appreciate them and the earth that we're gonna welcome it into, and the whole process is magic. So it's I think it's really important that we show the respect to that. What these plants do is just amazing in so many ways. What other plant produces, almost 50% of its volume by weight is medicine. It's unheard of. There's nothing like this. And so it's not a one-way relationship. We're both working together. The plants are working with us. They are providing something for us, and in exchange we're providing something for them. We spread this plant all over the place. It is growing in nooks and crannies all over the world. The government did its best to suppress this plant harder than it tried to suppress any other plant. And look at it. Look at it. It's all over. So, that's a us, right? That's not a them or it's us. We did that with the plant. And the plant is a partner in that. It 100% is a partner. And so just showing that respect and trying to be a part of that special bond.
I 100% believe that cannabis responds to the energy of the grower, and that this affects the quality of the medicine. Where when you're tending plants, there's so much care that you put into what you do, and there's things that go into it that aren't talked about. I wish my plants well. I think about them when I go in the room. If I don't talk to them verbally, I talk to them in my head.
Yeah.
Wishing them well,
Every
telling them
time.
how lovely
Yep.
they look.
Yep. Yep. No, when we raise the greenhouse raise the plastic in the morning to let the sun in, it's always, oh, good morning, ladies. How are you doing? And I can't help myself. That's they are part of the family.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, beautiful. I wanted to mention if anybody has any questions, but we went really quickly through the Jadam techniques or any of the techniques that you're using at the farm, any of the folks that are joining us in the chat, feel free to put your questions in the chat and we'll try to answer them. What strains did you grow this year?
Oh, let's see. Well, we added some new ones to our list this spring. We got Purple Milk, Cherry Do-si-do, Blue Dream, Blue Nerds, and I feel like Glitter Bomb. I almost forgot the Glitter Bomb, and you can't forget the Glitter Bomb. Oh my God. So we ran all that in our first greenhouse. And that all came from Hendrix, and 100% of it's exciting. We're really stoked. It really came out nice. It's funny is like the one that was like, it hadn't really like shined its head above the others was the Cherry Dosi, and I was just in the room taking some of it down because we harvested 2.5 weeks ago, and we're starting the process of bucking it down and getting it to the trimming and all that. And oh man, it sure stood out. I finally got to hang out with it that much, and like, oh my gosh, the terps on that, it's got some really intense gas and stuff. But so we grew those as some newer cultivars, and then we have our Donny Burger, which is one of our favorites.
Oh man, that's one of
a
my favorites.
nighttime. Yeah, for us, that's a game ender. Like you put that into the thing. You want to have one foot in bed already. That one really gets me good. We have our headband, which is just the classic headband, and it really is. It's so potent and so good. That's special medicine for a lot of people.
That's the Humboldt headband. Yeah,
I think so. You know, the I didn't get it 2 decades ago, so it's hard to verify anything at this point.
Totally,
But
totally.
yeah. And so let's see. Then we have our sour diesel. That's my main medicine right there. Normally, that's what keeps me going through the day. I like a good activating morning type flower, and but it can't be just terpinolene because my that doesn't take care of my back pain. I need some gas in there, and that sour diesel fills that role very well. And let's see what else we got. Our key lime jack. We've got a cut of that we're growing this year. That one's really exciting. It's from Happy Dream Genetics, and really nice. It's a key lime pie with a little bit of jack in there. It really, the name says it. It's very, very much limonene, and it's just tasty and really effective. Judy's Burmese Mimosa. That's one of our favorites.
I was going to ask what Judy's strain is.
Yeah, that's Judy's. She should tell you about that one.
My lifelong favorite. The key lime jack is amazing as well, but the Burmese Mimosa is very special. And she's kind of a diva, so we haven't been able to produce a commercial crop of her the past 2 seasons. But this year, I think we're going to pull it off. Yep.
Finicky.
Yeah.
She's just super, super leafy. So if it's a wet fall, she just molds.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Yeah.
But Walter's been working with it and trying to cross her to some things that are less leafy, and we'll see. We actually have a little breeding project going on with Huckleberry Hill Farms right now to cross this Burmese Mimosa with his, very famous whitethorn rose. And so that one, those 2 things are both so delicious and amazing individually that I am just so excited to see what the combination is,
Yeah.
And we're hoping it passes a little bit of Johnny's hash dumping traits along with it. That would be beautiful.
And yeah, those guys are doing great work out there, man. I keep seeing photos of their farm online with like all the petunias and companion planting and stuff.
Yeah.
It's so beautiful.
Yeah.
So beautiful.
It's like Disneyland level of like landscaping there for sure.
Yeah.
They put a lot of effort into making that place beautiful for sure.
So beautiful. Yeah. So very awesome. How can folks find you in the California market? Like where can folks find you?
Yeah, I mean, our website has a store locator, so that's a good place to start. We are like super stoked to be in all Embark locations across the state, so that is a pretty nice range.
Embark's
Locally
awesome.
here, our little our little local dispensary, Bigfoot Cannabis Company, in our little town of Willow Creek is super special to us because he carries nothing that comes from outside of our little Willow Creek region, which is very unique.
That's great. Willow Creek's beautiful.
So you gotta
Yeah.
come check out the Bigfoot capital of the world, Willow Creek, and
Yeah.
you can find us there, and then also be able to come and stay on the farm at our glamping bud and breakfast if you make the journey up here to the Emerald Triangle.
I saw that you've been doing kind of like gatherings over the years there. And can you
Yeah.
tell us a little bit more
Yeah,
about
we
that?
love to host people. Yeah, so we have 6 glamping tents, and so we can host up to 12 people at a time. And so we do a lot of like team retreats or yoga retreats, wellness retreats, that kind of thing. Um we just yesterday finished up a gathering of like certified ganjiers all came and like did a bunch of farm tours in our area. So mainly, we just want people to have the opportunity to come and experience what life is like on a small farm in the Emerald Triangle, because
Yeah. It's something
it's
special.
like before. Yeah, and we couldn't do that before, and I think there's been, unfortunately, some media that paints this area in a very negative light,
Mm.
but that was never our experience here. What our experience of living here in the Emerald Triangle and in the Willow Creek area specifically is just that, like, people are friendly. People are just farming, living on their land, being in touch with nature,
Mm.
building community. And that's really what cannabis allowed us all to do for decades, was to like have enough money to volunteer at our kids' school, or to, donate items to a raffle, or, like spend time building up nonprofits and supporting artists and, being involved in local government, those kinds of things that, when you're slaving away at a minimum wage job, you just like really can't do those things. And so I feel like, that's a big challenge for our community now is, how can we, in this current financial reality of like the value of cannabis dropping so low and yet not differentiating. I think this is really the thing. Like, we're at this precipice right now where, like, I read an article recently where someone was sort of being like, oh, these low prices are so great for the consumers. And it's like, well, not long term, because
Yeah.
actually what's going to happen is, people who have unique genetics and are growing on a small farm, people who are operating in a very like quality focused way, we're not going to be able to continue to produce that kind of a product if we are not fairly paid for it. And what consumers are going to find if we don't change this dynamic is that super high quality regenerative sun grown will just not be found at dispensaries at all.
Mm.
And it already is very, very difficult to find it, because
Yeah.
I think that people don't even know that, say, organic cannabis is a thing. So
Yeah.
people who go out of their way to buy organic food and go to the farmer's market or go shop at like a health food store, grocery, um, a lot of people don't make that connection that cannabis is also an agricultural crop, and all of the things that you're thinking about for your food or your coffee
Well,
or your, any of these consumable things that you buy and put in or on your body.
yeah.
Cannabis has all those same situations, right? You can get pesticide-laden cannabis. You can get cannabis that was grown with salty fertilizer that doesn't make you feel good
Good.
at all. And it's something that I think as the market matures, if we all can hold on, there will be people who care about that. They just don't even know yet that it's a
No.
thing. And so that's really our biggest, challenge right now is like, how do we get this outreach out so that the people who care about that and want to support that with their money and their purchase, but also like it's for themselves, for their own health, for their own, making sure that you're actually getting a product that makes you feel good. That's the thing is we need to figure out how to have the storyline get carried all the way through to that dispensary so that the person buying it understands why this eighth might be $5 more than the cheapest eighth you can buy, but it's for a reason, right?
Yeah.
At the same time, people are currently spending, $50, $60, $70 an eighth on an eighth of like indoor.
Yep.
And I always think that that's a very interesting thing. Like, why in the world is that worth sometimes twice as much? Right? When in fact, it isn't a higher quality product. It's just visually different,
Yeah.
and people need to start really like identifying what works for them. And like, actually, you could go out and buy craft regenerative sun-grown from a small farm in the Emerald Triangle. And it right now in a dispensary might cost you half as much as that eighth of corporate indoor that you bought last time. And you were like, well, this was okay. I think one of the most common things that I get told when I'm out at like the state fair, for instance, when you just have tons of regular folks that, they like weed, maybe they buy an eighth a week on, Fridays or whatever. And they just, they're like, I just can't find good weed in a dispensary anymore. Like, I used to get this great weed, and now, like, nothing that I buy really makes me feel the same. And it's like, well, think about the fact that, if you bought weed in the United States for the past 50 years, it was mostly grown by small farms in the Emerald Triangle. And if you're missing that experience that you used to have, try seeking out some weed from a small farm in the Emerald Triangle, and you might find that it brings you back, right?
Yeah. 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 I love it. You guys are doing some classic strains as well for that, to kind of bring you back, bring you into that vibe. And this is, I mean, what you guys are doing is where it all started. I mean, with, people working off the land, using what was on the land because there weren't fertilizers, around to help grow in like orange and green bottles to help grow their crops. And this is this is how it all started. So I feel like, I hope that in these countries where cannabis, recreational or adult use cannabis is coming online, that people are watching, here what you guys are doing and are able to bring some of that care and love into what they're doing. I know that there's so many businesses. There's so many businesses. The model right now, it seems like for Europe and for other countries that are coming online is to build these massive indoor farms, right? Um, and there has to be other ways to do this. There has to be other ways than that, and you guys are doing it.
No,
So
one of
Yeah.
the things that's not really understood is the carbon footprint. How big that carbon footprint is on indoor growing. Most like that's the that's the very big elephant in the room. You would have to have. I don't remember what did we figure out. It was 8 or 16 times the amount of land covered with solar panels to make enough to grow your crop. So for my quarter acre, you would need like 4 acres of solar panels to grow that. And there's no way that that's sustainable ever. Like you can't have
yeah,
4. That's crazy, right?
Yes.
That's a
yeah,
lot of aluminum and
There's this
exotic
thing called the
materials.
sun. It's
Yeah,
in the
there's this thing
sky
called the
and it
sun.
provides your plants with what they need.
Right. You're
But
you're
ultimately, I
blocking
mean,
out the light to
yeah.
make an
And
artificial
that,
light that has a lot of heat and it's just and we're developing that in these places because we can't transport it and all these other reasons, but what we're not really realizing is the just crazy environmental impact that that's having because we did calculations on shipping also, and you could go around the planet dozens of times before you could on a train. You could ship
You
flower
can ship
dozens of
an
times.
eighth. You can ship an eighth of sun-grown cannabis 16 million miles by train before it equals the carbon footprint of growing that eighth indoors next door. And so, from my perspective, the biggest argument for federal legalization is an environmental one. Because just like California produces 3/4 of the fruits and nuts that are consumed in the United States, cannabis is the same. Right. And the fact that we are stuck here in California with amazing sun grown and someone in, Missouri. Well, they do have actually sun grown in Missouri, but, there's a lot of states that are not even allowing outdoor farming at all. And there's just a lot that just don't have the climate for it. You cannot do what we're doing in
Oklahoma,
Alabama, for instance. You just can't. It's not the right climate. And so at this moment in time on the planet when really we're possibly past the point of no return, to be building indoor giant facilities to produce cannabis while very experienced farmers in California are going out of business because they cannot sell their crop is absolutely devastating, and it's just it's very frustrating to me because it's not only is our weed excellent and healing medicine, we're healing the planet by growing it. And if all of our friends and neighbors who've gone out of business in the past 8 years could still be farming and selling their weed to these places where people are putting up it's like the resource investment in building an indoor facility before you even flip the switch on is intense. Right. And now, and now, unfortunately, those folks who have invested all of that money, they're very attached to getting a return. And if we did get federal, I feel honestly, some of those folks are probably going to want to stand in the way of federal legalization because they have their money invested in this indoor facility in Illinois. They don't want us to come in there and sell our excellent sun-grown in there because of their own business interests, but yet that's creating a problem for all humans and animals and other living things on the planet, which is just wrong,
There are so many places in the world that would love to be able to receive in the mail a package of Humboldt sun-grown. Can you imagine how awesome that would be just to be able to...
Emerald Triangle sun-grown.
Emerald Triangle sun, come on. People all over the world would die for this, man.
Yeah.
It's hard. It's just a waiting game, really. Waiting it out, waiting the government out until we have sensible laws.
Yeah, we got to overgrow that government.
Yeah.
Well, you guys, it's been such a pleasure.
Hopefully soon come.
Hopefully. We'll keep our fingers crossed and we'll keep pushing. So you guys, it was such a pleasure having you both join me for the show. Judy and Walter, thank you guys so much. I appreciate so much what you guys are doing. Tell us one more time how to find Soul Spirit.
Soulspiritfarm.com. That's SOL like the sun. So SOLSPIRITFARM.com.
Awesome. Fantastic. All right. Everyone have a great weekend.
All
Thank
right.
you guys so much. We'll talk soon.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.